Welcome to episode 0 of this Let's Play series. We're going to be playing Warhammer 40,000 Gladius Relics of War. My name is DasTactic. Welcome to the channel. Special thank you if you have been supporting the channel in any way possible, whether it be through Patreon. Again, links in the description down below. Patreon, buying merchandise, anything really, even just a like and subscribe certainly does help with the YouTube algorithm. So anyway, this Gladius is one of the best games. It's probably the best AI of any game I've ever played, actually, like in terms of its ability to actually then play like a human does. It's quite a brutal game in that sort of sense because it really can be really quite difficult. Before we get started, I don't want to waste too much time before we actually get into the game itself. If we go to the extra and go to mods, I'll just quickly go through the mods that I'm playing with. The compendium just gives more information, revised information. Gladius Plus, now there's Gladius Plus is the mod that sort of changes the scale of things in the game. Doesn't change the gameplay at all. Then there's a whole lot of mods, like my own DAS Tweaks, which sort of tweaks a few of the Gladius Plus things. ADEPTA Sororitas Plus, Adeptus Mechanicus Plus, and Escalation Plus. Gladius Plus itself hasn't been updated for quite some period of time, so these mods just sort of go through and fix up the scale of the other units that are sort of around that have been done since Gladius Plus was last updated. Locknock's expanded setup gives us extra different things at the start of the game. The rising price of units I have turned off. I've got too many voices turned on. I think I've got one more. No, I don't actually. I thought I had another one. Friendly Territory is a good one actually, but I'll keep it turned off. That one does change some of the gameplay. Everything else is just cosmetic, except for the setups. And okay, just click on OK through there. Just go back. We'll go to new game. Now, I'm playing on a setting called Hard Plus, which does make the game very, very difficult. I can win about 50% of the time usually with this particular setting. But if you are new to the game, I would strongly suggest that you play on easy. Easy is still quite hard, so just be aware of that one through there. As I say, the AI is very, very, very well done. Very, very well coded. We're going to be playing with the new DLC, the ADEPTA Sororitas. So that will be the team that we're going to be playing as. We're going to have 9 other random factions back and through this side. We are also playing on a massive world, which is recommended for 10 players. We've got 10 players. Now, another suggestion, if you are new to the game and you're finding that you're just getting a little bit too, like you're meeting the AI a bit too early, just up the size. You know, like if we're playing with 10 players, just make it go from massive to gigantic. In this instance, to have like 12 players, things like that, just to give yourself a bit more breathing space. That does help a lot actually with some of the factions. But we'll keep it on massive, which is suitable for 10 players. Landmass will just go medium and game pace standard. In the advanced, one thing I have turned off, and I'd suggest that you do the same unless you're just wanting to see what the quests actually are, but turn the quests off. They're a pain in the ass. And I think there's a Lord of Skulls DLC as well, which I never ever bothered installing, and so that's actually one where turn that off as well if you've got that one. I've got everything else turned on. That's pretty much it really. Everything else is basically as per the defaults. So that's done. Okay, we'll just get started, I guess. So in we go. Now we will sort of start off with a launch screen. I'm just going to skip past that. So I'm just going to click and away we go. We'll press escape. And in we come. So we come into the game into here. Now, one of the things when you start playing the game, don't feel bad about restarting until you get the sort of start that you want. I'm certainly going to be having a quick look at this one to see if this is worth it for me. I like to sort of see what sort of abilities that I have. This is actually fairly good in here. And just went straight to that tile there. In fact, all of these tiles, they give me research bonuses, they're giving me energy bonuses, and they're giving me requisition bonus. That's in reverse order there. Our playing as the ADEPTA Sororitas, we have, like every faction has got like a different set of resources that it requires. So we use requisitions, and requisitions, like at the moment we're going backwards, but as soon as we build a city, that will then go into the positives. We've got energy as well. Now, different equipment, different buildings will then use energy. We've got research, which we need to do the research, and then we have influence. So we've got a lot of good stuff just in around these different areas. So this is actually a very, very nice place for us to start. We're starting in the middle of the top. Now we can sort of assume that there's going to be someone next to us potentially. We have a bit of a look and sort of scroll down. Yeah, there's a landmass over there. So there may be water that comes all the way through here. In one sense, that wouldn't be a bad thing. That would then give us a a choke point, like, or not a choke point, but it means we wouldn't have to worry too much about anything that comes from this side other than through the water or through the air. But on the land initially, that's going to be I guess the main thing we have to then sort of contend with. For our groups, we're actually just starting off with 2 battle sister units back and through here, and I'll talk about them in a minute. And we have a hospital unit. Now, the hospital unit does a few different things. These are very, very useful units. They can found a new city, which is what we're going to need to do right from the very, very start. They also, so found cities, they clear tiles as well from, whether it be forest or wireweed, anything like that. They Endless Crusade is gains fleet and move through cover. So this one here is an act of faith, usable if the unit is not shaken or broken. And so this is actually a free action, which means we can use it anytime we like. And so this is going to give us 1 extra movement. Now, it's probably worth us doing this one at the start here, but we might just do a bit of scouting first, just to sort of see what's around. Now, I like the idea of using these tiles in through here, particularly this one here, or even if we can get over to there or there. So it's only got 2. Actually, this one's got 3, but then we lose out on the requisitions. These are better for requisitions back over the other side. Can we get over there? Not quite. What we'd need to do to get over the other side is actually play this one here, the Endless Crusade. Also, these are healer units as well. But if we play the Endless Crusade, we should then be able to move our way across to this other side to get into one of these 2, which I think I might just do anyway, actually. So let's go and do that. Yep, there we go. That then opens up these up. And so with Endless Crusade, we then move across to this other side over here. We get the 20% requisition, 20% energy, and 20% research. This is a good start for the Adepta Sororitas. I'm having a bit of a look around to see what else there is actually out this other side. It's not going to matter wherever we go. The desert's going to give us energy no matter what we do. Before I do that one, I'm going to go and move this one across just so we can see a little bit more. And just see if there's anything. This one's worth 3, but it doesn't have anywhere near the. It's only got research bonuses. I think we'll go here. So we're now seeing other units further across. This is Chaos Cultists. I might use these as an example as to what we can expect. So with our units in through this side now, we've got the we can now go and set our first city. So either one of these locations has been selected as a very, very viable spot for us. So we'll just go in here and build the Ciborium Elegantia is going to be the name of our actual city. I think we might change that to we'll call it the DasTactic Preceptive. So I can just go and change this one. The DasTactic Preceptory. There we go. That's sort of then the word preceptory is like we start off with a preceptory inside our capital city, which is one of the things we sort of then have with the way that we sort of do get started in through there. Now we're inside the actual area. Now we've only got 2 building slots. We've got 2 different buildings. We've got the Ministerium Workshop back in through this side, which and we've got the preceptory itself. And so this is their main building inside the city. And so this one actually does give us essentially the population limit of 6. So we now have a limit in through here of 6. We have the requisitions of 15. We're getting extras because we get 12 from the building, 2.4 because of the plus 20%. And we also then have 0.9 from the loyalty factor that we actually end up in through this side. Now we get extra loyalty playing as the Adepta Sororitas for tiles. You can see down the bottom of that loyalty list there, it's got +1 from tiles. So every tile that we get gives us an extra loyalty. This is quite big playing as the Adepta Sororitas. The difference is that we can't build massive cities anywhere other than this particular city. We can build other cities, but we just can't build. We can't. So having that extra loyalty for the cities is actually quite valuable to us. It's going to mean that we can actually get more cities ultimately. Order units back across here. So that's now been done. Actually, one thing we do need to do. Sorry, going back to the city again. I will just we'll just go back across to the city. And we'll just go back in. We need to build a building. Now, the only thing we can really do is acquire a tile. And so where do we want the tile? We have to think about what we want to build next. And so the first thing I want to be building is research. I then also want to be building this one here, which is the Battle Chapel. That's going to be important for us early on, so we can get more units. Energy is pretty good actually at +5 already, so this is actually not too bad. Like if we go and get this one, it's going to cost me another 1 upkeep, so it'll go from +5 to +4. Getting this one will take another 2, that will go from +4 to +2, so that will be still okay. We're still actually inside the limits of what we require. And this one, when we look at this one, we're going to get production of 6 to build the actual units. We're going to get a population limit of another +1, and we have requisitions of +2. So I want this to be in a requisition location. So we've got the 20% out through here. We've got 20% anywhere out through these different areas. Now research is actually over here as well at 20%. So this is actually an ideal one for us to go and grab straight away. So we get the extra research. So we'll do that one, order the research, order the different units back in through this other side. Now this one here, I wouldn't mind just scouting. Normally the rule of thumb is don't split your units up, but in this case I'm going to. I'm just going to move it across to this tile, just so I can see if the water does extend across. No, it doesn't. See how there's actually other areas now that come back across the other side. So that one does join up over there. That's interesting. Okay, so there's nothing, doesn't look like there's anything of value back in there. It just looks like it's all just ruins. And we do actually have another lot of Chaos Cultists back over this other side. I'll wait until we get some action before we sort of do anything else. And so I'll just try to sort of talk. This will still be an episode 0, I'm thinking, where I just sort of go through the different sorts of tips. But that's a good start for us. We get a +60, in different percentages as a start, which is always a good one. Now we are sort of seeing these guys. They're not going to worry us too much, and I'll explain why. I might even do it now, actually. Let's just do an evaluation as to what we've got to think. In fact, we've got the research. This is where we have to start thinking ahead. What are we going to do? If we go and choose research, we think, okay, well, what do we want? Don't start just thinking, what do I need next? Start thinking, what do I need in 30 turns? Like what's the long-term goal of what we need to do? And really, at the start of the game, the long-term goal is for us to go and build cities. And so to build cities, we need hospitalers. And so the hospitalers are back over through here. And so this one here, infantry unit that explores Sororitas holy sites, heals allied units, clears tiles, and founds new cities. So we need to get to this research to be able to then go and get another city. That's a long way off to actually get this one. If we go across into this side, we also need the Legantine's Priory, which building that produces heroes and hospitalers, as well as generates influence and increases loyalty. So before we can build any cities, we need to have this one researched and built, and this one researched, and then build a hospital at that location. So that's sort of what we have to do as a matter of priority. So getting there is just, what's the steps we want to go to actually get there. Now, we know that we want this one. Now, this one is also going to, one thing I would suggest that you do is to sort of figure out your way through this part of it. I'm just going to click on OK. We're not going to actually choose any research just yet. We're going to start by pressing F1, which then opens the compendium. Another way of doing that one would be to just go up and click on the compendium F1 up through there. So either way, we sort of open up the compendium. We then actually have a whole lot of different collections, and these are really, really well fleshed out. So whichever faction, like one thing you should probably always have a look at if you are new to the game and you're not used to a faction, is go to factions and then have a look at your faction. So we've got the ADEPTA Sororitas back in through here. It will then go through the different sorts of things that your faction does. And this is worth reading. And so I think we'll just do a quick summary here. I'll skim past a lot of the stuff. The initial challenge is easy. These are fairly powerful units actually, and we don't have to really micromanage the building of the cities too much. We will still do it, and I'll explain what I'm doing as I do that. Shield of Faith. So units benefit from a variety of damage reductions, including Witchfire. So we actually have native strength in what we do. So our sisters are actually have got like a little bit of an ability against Witchfire, which doesn't feature in the game that much, but it's just nice to have. Requisition, so any food and ore resources are replaced by a single soil-independent requisitions resource. Requisitions are what we use instead of food and ore. Acts of Faith. If you have enough morale, infantry units can perform Acts of Faith to get temporary enhancements. We just saw that before with getting the extra range on our healer unit to then go and create the city where we wanted the city to be located. Holy Trinity weapons based on the Holy Trinity of Bolter, Flamethrower, and Melter. The sisters are known throughout the Imperium as a scourge of traitors, mutants, and sorcerers. Sacred rites. Use influence to temporarily improve the combat abilities of your units and war effort in your cities. A limited amount of sacred rites can be active at a time. Adepta Sororitas imbued with the Emperor's will see their faith on the battlefield rewarded. Martyr Spirit, when a unit is killed, nearby units benefit from a morale loss reduction. So they actually gain, essentially it's martyrdom. So they accept martyrdom. Now we don't want to be, we don't want to be relying on that in any sort of sense. But what that does mean is that if we start to take damage, our units are more likely to then get more strength through that one, so through the martyrdom. Convent of Faith, so tiles increase the loyalty output. We saw that just before, where we had one. Now we're going to have 2 loyalty with the next tile. The Sororitas Holy Sites, these are actually inside the ruins. We need a Hospitaller again. So these Hospitallers are quite important support units for us. They're not very good in combat, but they are very, very good at healing and also at checking out these holy sites. Oath of Faith, so broken morale results in losing the Shield of Faith and dealing even less damage. So keeping morale high is very, very important for us. Our Religious Enclave, the Adepta Sororitas have only one main city, which is what this is the preceptory that we've actually now got, with every additional city being limited in size to 1 tile radius. So we can only, like with our main city, we can sort of get other research to expand the actual, the width of the city itself, but all the others can only have 1 tile around it, which means we're going to need a lot of cities, which is why we have the bonus for the loyalty, because loyalty, every city is -6 loyalty essentially. So, we'll probably end up with, I'm probably going to aim to having 4 cities in total. That should be enough for us, I think. So have only 1 main city. And so the orders of the Adepta Sororitas are based on their preceptory, but smaller detachments can found new, smaller commanderies where the need arises. So we can actually sort of build these other cities. And I'm thinking we're going to be looking to at least get up and running with 1 of those fairly early on. And but we'll, it's not, for us, it's not critically important. A little bit like the Space Marines. The Space Marines can only have their initial city and that's it. We're a little bit the same. It's still different, but it's a little bit the same. Anyway, that's the actual factions. By all means, have a look at it when you come up against a faction as well. Read what they're good at, and so you sort of know how to fight them, or how to, what to expect from them at least. Another thing that's interesting to look at is the buildings. So go in and have a look at the buildings for your particular group. In through here, and there's a few things that's worth looking at. You're going to have different, like the Battle Chapel, for example, we can build straight away. So a building that produces infantry as well as increases population limit and generates requisitions. Now we saw that before, 6, 1 extra population, 2 requisitions. And these are the different units we can then produce. So we can get the Battle Sisters straight away. So these are going to be our base unit. They're going to be useful pretty much the whole game, really. We then also can then start to get research to get any of these in the blue. So when we see blue, it means we can research them. And this is often a good thing to just get a bit of a feel for, okay, what's sort of next in the game terms? And so we actually have these Zephyrims back in through here. And so there's a close combat jump unit able to deal with armored targets. So these must have some sort of armor ability to sort of then crack through armor. Then we have a fragile but powerful frenzied melee unit, infantry unit, in through this side as well. And then we go up Dominions, Retributors, and then Celestian Sacrosancts. Now, these are all up to mid-level, I would guess, just looking at the amount of cost in requisitions. The first ones cost 40, these late ones cost 80. So these are only like twice as much as the Battle Sisters. So these aren't really super powerful, but it's just nice to get a feel for it when you start to sort of play the game. The Anointed Hangar is going to also then be for armoured units. So this produces ground vehicles, even though it's called a hangar. And again, we can have a bit of a look to see, okay, the Immolator, it costs even less. Again, there's only 30. This is a transport unit. We then have Mortifiers. These are 60. These are 80 for the Castigators. So this is a powerful assault tank equipped with different shells. Then we've got an Exorcist anti-armor missile launcher. So it's probably going to be a long-range weapon. And then finally we have the Paragon, which is going to cost 120 requisition points to get this this particular armoured this heavily armoured elite walker unit that excels against any foe. So they look to be sort of like towards the back end of the middle of the game. We'd be sort of aiming for these, I would guess. But these ones early on, 80 again, that's going to be sort of a mid-game unit. These are the sorts of things that we want to get. This is another 80 as well through there. These are 60. So that would be sort of the mental progression as to what we can sort of expect. Just skip through a few of the other ones. The commandery. Back in through this one. This is a smaller headquarters building that generates resources. This is when we get our next lot of cities. This is actually what we then get for those cities. So the first one's going to cost us practically nothing. The next one after that, we're going to start to get more loyalty problems. But these will be nice and simple. This one sort of is essentially going to be our secondary cities. Other things of interest in through here. These are the building that produces aircraft and Imperial Knights. And so we can get essentially like the Lightning Fighter, the Avenger Strike Fighter back in through here, and then finally we end up with fairly powerful at 240 requisition points, the Cerestus Knight Lancer, which is a fast super heavy walk unit that outflanks and smashes into its opponents. So that's sort of like, this is late game stuff now to get this particular walker unit. This will be big. This will be like a big monstrous unit that we can then end up sort of getting through those. Other things, the Legacy's Priory, we saw this one before, where we can actually go and get hero units. So we've got hero units back in through there. There's our hospitalers. We need to go and get those to build the new cities. And then we, Saint Celestine, again, a lot of influence required and a lot of requisitions to actually go and get one of these hero units. And so that will be something that will be more mid-late game before we can get those. That's pretty much it, I think. The Preceptory is actually our main building that we have in our main city. We can actually extend the areas around the city by these. We can't do that with the Commandery. The Commandery doesn't have any of those sorts of expansions. That's it. The other ones, just increase things like research or requisitions, whatever, anything else we sort of require. But it's useful to have a bit of a feel for the different types of equipment that you may be able to get. Now we can go one step further with that and go down from buildings down to units, and then also go to Adepta Sororitas and have a look then at what we actually then go and get. So we know that Battle Sisters are going to be the first unit that we actually have available. And we can do this just by looking at them anyway, but it can be useful to sort of think, okay, look, down the track, what do I need? Like, do I go, what's that fragile unit got? How does it compare? Now, our Battle Sisters are our baseline unit, really. They're our simplest unit. 8 armor is quite a lot of armor for an entry-level unit like this. So that's a lot of armor. Only 10 hit points, which is fairly light on. Morale of 10, which is standard from the game. Movement of 3. Sight of 3. And also have a look at the weapons. Now, I'll probably do this when we actually go into the fights, but I would actually be looking at a lot of these early units and actually looking at what their actual weapon loadouts are. One thing we might have a bit of a look at. I mean, this is the biggest of them. This is the final sort of one. We're going to see it's got like a few different sorts of weapons. It's got a Cerestus Shock Lance, which is a range weapon. It's concussive, so it temporarily reduces the accuracy of the target infantry or monstrous creature unit. And heavy, reduces the accuracy after moving. So we can sort of fire with this one through here. It does 4 damage, 6 attacks, armor penetration of 6. This is a very, very powerful unit. And it also then has the Shock Lance melee as well. It's a destroyer weapon, so increases the damage, and cannot overwatch with this particular melee weapon. But again, armor penetration of 12, 24 damage. This is a monstrous unit. With what it can actually go and do. If you compare it to the Battle Sisters with their weapon, you've got like a bolt gun, which does 1.5 damage per gun in the squad. Now, there's only 5 members in the squad. That's why it's got times 5. So it does 1.5 times 5, so 7.5. 1 attack. Now, the attacks, you'll see down under traits, it's got rapid fire. It doubles the attacks at half range, which means that if we close from 2, it can fire at maximum of 2 range. If we close to 1 range, we can then actually use the... We basically fire twice. So instead of having 5 attacks, we have 10 attacks at 7.5. So we sort of slowly creep it up there, and these are quite powerful units. If we compare that, for example, to an Orc unit, back in through here, we can then sort of go down to their Boys unit, which is their base unit. We can see that they've only got like 2 armor, which is still actually okay in the game, but they've got 18 hit points. They're nearly double our hit points. Their morale is low at only 6. And so their morale doesn't sort of stick around for all that long. They do have other ways of improving their morale, though, as part of what they get to do. They've got 2 different types of weapon sluggers, which do 1.5 damage times 6. but their accuracy is only 33%, whereas ours is 67%. And they've also got choppers, which do 1.1 damage times 6. But with no armor penetration in either one of these. So these are not good against armored units, and we're an armored unit. At 8 armor, we're actually doing fairly well. And so you need to sort of pick and choose. When you find an enemy, you may find that you need to have a type of unit that you use against them. And so our units are great against orcs. But how would they go against, for example, the Space Marines? Like if they come up against, I know that thematically they're not supposed to fight the Space Marines, but you know what I mean. This is a game after all, and we had to find a way to sort of have everything sort of work. So if we have a look at their base, where is their Space Marine base unit? Assault Space Marines are, no, that's even not it either. Where is it? I am missing it. It might be Tactical Space Marines. Might be these guys. What's the cost? Yeah, it's the same cost as ours. You can see that they've got like 8 armor, so they actually have so they've got the same armor that we've got. They've got 15 hit points, so they do better there, and they've got bolt guns just like what we've got as well. But these are actually more powerful again because of the amount of hit points that they actually have. So we have other benefits, but they actually also have different things that they can then do as well. So these are quite a strong armored unit, stronger than us because of the extra hit points. They probably only have 5 units, I would think, in the times 5. So they've got their units have got 3 hit points. Ours have only got 2 hit points. Anyway, that's we won't get into too much detail, but by all means, as a tip with any faction, just step through and have a bit of a look at that because it does make a difference. Now, when we actually have another infantry like over through here, where we've got these Chaos Cultists, we can then go and have a look at what they've got as well. So when I open this one up, and I'm just going to just move where I've got my head. All right, so let's have a look and see what we can see through here. They've only got 2 armor, but they've got 21 hit points. Now they're at level 2, which is why they've got extra hit points in this case. So they've got 10 units in the stack. So they're actually, anything that they do is times 10. So it's very important that we do we get to fire first if we go up against these guys. Other things we can sort of see through here is that they've got an auto pistol. They do 1.1 damage. No armor penetration with this though, so that's actually good for us. The accuracy is only 50%, so only half the shots are going to get through, and they're only range 1. So if we can sort of fire at them at range 2, do damage, let them come in, that will be preferable to just having them come in. They also have a melee attack as well at 1.1 damage times however many members there are left in the squad. And so these, again, like armor penetration 0, accuracy of 50%. They're not great, but they can do a lot of damage while they've still got all 10 units in the actual stack. It's just important to sort of just get a feel for each of the units that you come up against and just do a quick evaluation as to what they've got. This is another one, same sort of deal, same sort of Chaos Cultists in through there. Anyway, let's choose our research. So now the choices that I've got based on what we need to know. We need to get the hospitalists at some point. Do I want to go and get this one early or late? And I'm thinking I probably don't need to get it super early. For every 2 that I get in a tier, I then open up the next tier. So I need to get 2 of these. One of them has to be this one, so we need to get that one no matter what. And now this one does increase influence and loyalty. I don't need that as much. This one's research and requisitions. That's actually something that would be valuable to me. So I could go with that and that, or I can get the frag grenade, which allows our Sisters of Battle to then throw grenades. And that probably is going to be more useful in the short term. So I think what I'll do is I might come and start here, go to this one, get a couple from in here somewhere, and then get hospitalers so I can start to then build them as well. So I'm thinking frag grenade will at least get us started. So let's just go that way. Just click on OK. 4 turns before we get that one. That will then sort of allow us to then use this. So we'll just end our turn in here. And we're pretty much out of time now. Now the first turn will always take a long time with the AI. So just be aware of that. And then we'll from here on in, we're going to be able to sort of move fairly quickly through the actual game itself. I'll just see if anyone does move into our areas. I'm just going to wait until we start to see sort of movement. I don't think that these can get close enough. Yeah, they're bouncing across up to there. Did the others move off? Yeah, they moved off somewhere else. We don't know where they were. rule of thumb, just make sure that you keep your units in support of each other. So we'll be moving them back across. And I'll leave it there, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next episode.